We're going to be talking about Jon Gruden working with the Saints. Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Essentially good for Jon Gruden. I think I don't want to say the wrong thing here because I don't support what he said. What he said was horrible and stupid, and
it really sounds like you do. God, you're awful, Mike.
No, I don't. But I think that there's this thing called freedom of speech. I'm really walking the tightrope right now, right?
Hey, Mike, since you read the rules earlier, why don't you read what Jon Gruden said in those emails? Huh?
Oh, no, I'm okay. But I think this is perfect because I think that outright canceling a person for what they said 10, maybe 15 years ago is just ridiculous. I think that this opportunity that he has with the Saints, he's not becoming an outright coach. He's not necessarily getting hired on for like the season. He's just helping to implement an offense. And I think that's cool. I think it makes sense. And I think this doesn't happen without Derek Carr.
Yeah. You want to know what I think?
What's that?
I think that, he was definitely pushed out of the league. Somebody didn't want him in the league, and they pulled up those emails and they got him out. And whether he was going to be fired regardless of the emails, definitely not that soon. But he had a lot of time left on that deal. It really screwed over the Raiders, because Mark Davis owed Jon Gruden a lot of money. And I just have to say the NFL is very hypocritical because they preach all this activism stuff, but the stuff they actually do, their actions, I really don't think that they care that much. They're a business and they're just looking to make money. And Jon Gruden, you can say what you want. He's been around the league for like 30 years plus.
Yeah.
I don't really have an opinion on whether he's a great coach or not. It's been a very long time. He's won a Super Bowl as a head coach. But it just shows that the NFL is waiting for people to just sort of forget about it, and then they'll bring people back.
Yeah. You bring up a good point in the hypocrisy because
hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. This is kind of I don't know what the word is, like contextual, but when you compare this to Colin Kaepernick, and I know this will kind of get you sitting up straight talking about Colin Kaepernick, but
what did you say?
Yeah, I said Colin Kaepernick.
It's my guy right there.
Yeah, what Colin Kaepernick did was not a wrong thing. And, he essentially gets blackballed and he cannot come back to the NFL. There's just no chance of it. Whereas Jon Gruden did a wrong thing, although he didn't do it publicly, it got leaked out, but that doesn't matter. He did a wrong thing. And it was while using, or at least contacting other NFL people, it was a bad look, and yet he gets another opportunity, although granted a very small opportunity. And I really do think that this is also contextual in the sense that no other team was going to hire Gruden. I don't even think the Saints hired him. Maybe hired is the right word, but it sounds to me like he only spent a week or a couple weeks with them to help implement their offense, and then he's back home, on house arrest essentially. But I think if it weren't for Derek Carr, this doesn't happen. And I think that the people in the Saints organization were willing to do this, whereas other teams wouldn't be. But it's just interesting that in this context, he gets a chance, but in Colin Kaepernick's, it's like, oh, but he's too much of a distraction that he can't get a backup job. Like a couple years ago, I think he would have been one of the best backups in the league. So
I
now
still
it's
feel
like
like
he's
there's some quarterbacks who he would still be better than now.
yeah.
Probably not
I
any of the starters, but
no, I
there's
I think
definitely
it
some backups and third strings that like there's
yeah.
just skill wise and talent wise, there's no reason why they would be on a roster instead of him besides the political aspect.
Yeah. And like a player I'll bring up right now is Calvin Ridley. Like he's been out of the game for 2 years now, I think.
He stepped away
And
1 year for mental health and then he got suspended another year, right?
yeah, he got suspended for sports betting on the NFL. It was just like, what are you doing? But you know, point for this one is just when you step away from the NFL for an extended period of time, your body is not conditioned the same. So I think that's where it would be hard for Kaepernick, and it will be hard for um, Calvin Ridley. You know, um, whereas Gruden's a coach, like it's all up here. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, what
Again,
about
I like
Deshaun
it's
Watson?
yeah
Deshaun
that
Watson was out of the league for a little while, and he was the first and only player to get a fully guaranteed contract.
yeah
And the
and
team
that
traded a ton of draft picks to get him.
yeah and that was all horrible looking. And it really that's a great point, and it really brings us full circle back to the Thursday night flexing. This is all just the NFL picking and choosing what is best for the NFL. That's it. You know, uh, Deshaun Watson is when he's good or when he was hot before all this stuff happened to him. He was a perennial. He was going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. Like he was that good, and he might still be. But last year he didn't look like it. But again, extended period of time away from the NFL, he looked different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when a quarterback of that caliber becomes available, and these teams felt comfortable with it because all the legal stuff looked like it was going to be fine, I guess. To them, it's worth it. He's a franchise quarterback, and it became a bidding war, and that's how the fully guaranteed contract happened. But regardless, it's a horrible look for the NFL because it's like, okay, again, Kaepernick did a considerably good thing, and because it was political, that's where, this country, it's 50-50, it's split, it's a two-party system. I have thoughts about that, but whatever. And the people that are against Kaepernick are going to be very, very loud about that if he's still on a team. And the NFL said, can't have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
With let's just be honest here, with so many Southern and Eastern teams, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a lot of people that are like, well, I'm just going to go watch baseball or basketball or whatever. And yeah, like you said,
I
full
still see
circle.
a comment here and there that say, "Yeah, I haven't watched the NFL ever since."
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That can spark a much longer conversation, but those conversations were had many years ago. It's just what it is like you said, it's hypocritical of the NFL. It's picking and choosing what is best for the NFL. And yeah, as far as Jon Gruden though, like I started, like it's nice to see him get even a small shot because I the negative things that he said aside, I liked him as a person. Like I think like you and I were talking about this off camera. Derek Carr put it pretty well, which is I hate the sin. Right?
I
How
love
you
the man,
said,
but I hate the sin.
yeah. Like I think Jon Gruden. I don't think he's a bad guy. Maybe he is, but he. I grew a soft spot for him, because he was the coach of my team, right? And then this
Mm-hmm.
happens. It's just weird, but it's like with him, in a completely different sense, Derek Carr. Like I want to see them succeed, just like for you and Kaepernick. Although with Gruden, again, it's more of a negative, and Kaepernick, it's different.
Well,
But
it really depends on like what your morals are.
yeah,
Um, but I would say nobody in their right mind would support what Jon Gruden did.
Yeah, no.
Because I don't think there was anything positive about it.
No.
Um, because it was just, I mean, it was just offensive emails.
Yeah, it was bad.
And it was a different time. I think
Yeah,
I think people can sort of, I mean, he can kind of be defended on that because back then people were saying other things. They weren't even thinking about how it affected others.
yeah.
Um,
And also just the fact that it was private. Like,
yeah, and
and
yeah,
I'm
it's a private
I'm
email.
not trying to sell it short or anything. It's just I don't know. I said this freedom of speech thing like that hopefully summarizes it a little bit, but not again selling it short. Like it's horrible. It's stupid. It was very stupid of him. I wouldn't do that. But
But you're just I guess trying to say that you don't think that his entire life should be dictated on something that was clearly a mistake that he shouldn't have done, and
right.
you probably don't think it reflects how he feels now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I would be inclined to agree. I just don't know Jon Gruden, and
Same.
that was the coach of your team, and I would say personality wise, he was just kind of a funny coach. I mean,
Yeah.
he was Chucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
When,
I'll tell you what, man.
when your nickname is Chucky, you clearly have a dark side to you.
Yeah,
But
and he had a dark side for what, 10 years, 100 something million.
yeah, actually, that was something I wanted to kind of comment off of. Like you said, that really hindered the Raiders. I, I was kind of back and forth with him, kind of similar to Carr towards the end, where more so for Gruden, where I felt like this wasn't working. It's time to move on. And I think, like I said in our last video, I think Mark Davis wants a head coach and GM tandem to stay for a long time and build their team. And I think he wanted that with Gruden, clearly with that contract.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it wasn't working. And it felt to me like if 2021, his final season up until week 5, didn't lead to the playoffs, it felt to me like he should be done, you know. Um, and then everything happened and it didn't matter. But I think that he wasn't really taking the team anywhere, you know. He was making horrible draft selections. Uh, yeah, I
Dude, what was it? The 2020 class where Ruggs went? That
dude.
entire draft class is like gone.
Well, that and also like I just couldn't help but laugh. Like just the other day, I saw the Twitter notification or ESPN notification that Damon Arnett just pled not guilty to a weapons charge, but he could potentially face 10 years in prison. Literally, he and Henry Ruggs were both the 2 first round picks. The year before that, we had the 3. That second year, we had 2 first round picks. Both of them are potentially jail bound. It's like, what a fucking joke.
Hey, I guess that's what you get when you move a football team to Las Vegas, huh?
You know, it probably provides a higher likelihood of something like that happening, but I really don't think that the city is causing that. I think that if these players were in Miami, it would have the same likelihood of happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of these players don't really go to the strip that much. Some of them they live that life and whatever, but they it's a matter of who they are as a person. They need to know and they need to be taught or whatever how to act because if you or I just got a contract, we get drafted to the NFL or whatever, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden you get a contract that guarantees you $3 million a year. It's like compared to what we're getting right now, it'd be like I don't know what to do with that. And
Probably invest
I
it, save it.
yeah, you and I would be smart, but these guys are like, let's get a super fast car, let's go get drunk tonight. Oh, I can't leave my car here. I got to drive home, and then a woman and a dog is
And
dead,
the
and
rest
your
is
life is
history.
ruined. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's the
that
person.
was a
It's the
really
person.
unfortunate situation.
It's
But
horrible.
but I think the last thing I'll say with the whole Jon Gruden thing, I guess I just kind of want to make my point, is that if the NFL was really about activism and trying to create social change, they wouldn't let Jon Gruden anywhere near a football team because of
Yeah,
just a couple of years ago there was public backlash. The
yeah.
NFL, the NFL, I think really doesn't care, and they're putting on a facade that they care.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's all about what is best for the NFL. That's all that they care about. You're completely right. If you compare this, Jon Gruden, to Colin Kaepernick, it's clear. That's all.
Mm-hmm. It's about the bottom line. So
Yeah, it's about the money.